What's good, everyone? Alex Trataros here with another Knicks episode of the Knicks Jets Etc. podcast. And with me is always my buddy, my cousin, my pal, the man with a plan, the one and only John Meleka. John is in the building. He's getting ready to fly out of here and leave me stranded with video producer Greg, Raisi, and Chris. Man's just gonna leave an empty chair on the screen, and I'm just gonna be talking to air for the next couple of weeks. But it's all good. John, how are you doing today, my man? What's going on?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Running all over the place, trying to get ready. Got boosted. Trying to get my bags packed. Taking care of the group. Things are good, man. Things are good. I am excited. I'm not gonna watch the next two Jets games. Because as a Jaguars and the Buccaneers at home, I'm glad that's just out of my life, kind of out of sight, out of mind. And then we got the Knicks schedule, all this COVID going on in the NBA. I feel like I'm glad to take a little, mini break from going absolutely crazy. I can't believe that Trae Young, Clint Capella are all out for the Christmas game. Like, we'll get to that later. But all that stuff is kind of making me like, all right, it's all right that I'm leaving. Like, at first I was like, oh, so many Christmas playoff games, the NFL implications, always that next Christmas, that's tough. We already had our family Christmas last week. So, like, the sports was like the problem, right? In the college bowls. But it's all right, man. I'm happy where we're at. I'm happy where the Jets are at. I'm happy where the Knicks are at. Surprisingly, I am. And, life is good. How are you?
I'm all right, man. Just a good Knicks win today to cleanse off the palate of a sad loss against the Boston Celtics and a poor Jets loss to the Miami Dolphins. So Knicks are trying to get back on track with this interesting roster they have. This is a 90s styles roster that you're enjoying because you get to see Kemba Walker, Evan Fournier, Julius Randle at small forward, Taj Gibson at the 4, and insert either Mitchell Robinson or Nerlens Noel at the 5. So I know this is your dream. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, I know you're excited.
I love where we're at, bro. I love where we're at. We finally listened to John. John's not the crazy guy yelling over here. And look, I mean, I know we're desperate, but we've been desperate. We've been desperate for weeks. Like, it just now on paper, COVID made us desperate. We've been desperate for weeks, man. We watched every single minute of this game, of these teams, and we see what there's lacking in. I love that today we made Isaiah Stewart look like a shooting guard. Like, he looks so small out there today. I don't know, how do we do that?
Mitchell Robinson, that's how we did that. It's crazy, man.
Well, that's the thing, because what happens is people get so infatuated with, like, okay, Golden State played small and they force teams to be small. LeBron James usually has a small team, forces teams to play small. So we have to just match them. But we never think about the other side. Like, if you play big, too big for them, like, they're going to have to match up to you sometimes if you're dominant. You know what I mean? It's just about establishing dominance. And I just think we have the players. Like, when Julius Randle's not asked to do too much, you see what happens today. You know what I mean? He was not asked to be the King Randle. And even though we're missing 7-8 guys off COVID, we're signing Damian Dotson, getting real minutes off the bench. You know what I mean? Like,
4 minutes, man. 4 minutes. It's okay.
in a Tibbs offense, like, what is that? That's like half a game, right? Like, I don't know. I just feel like Randle, when he's not asked to do too much, the benefits are completely outweigh the negatives when you ask him to just take over.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, we saw that today. He wasn't necessarily passive, but he was decisive. He wasn't over dribbling. He was getting to his spots where he wanted to take his shots, passing the ball, setting screens for Kemba and Evan Fournier so that they can get downhill. I liked how Kemba was being utilized today as a true point guard. And he just got into rhythm. We saw him get into rhythm against the Celtics. Him and Fournier, I should say. Him and Fournier both got into rhythm against the Celtics. And then we saw it once again. Yeah, they both got into rhythm today as well. I mean, I'm taking these two games with a grain of salt because it's out of necessity that these guys are playing a lot of minutes. And also today we played the Detroit Pistons. I'm not going to hang my hat on defeating the Detroit Pistons. There were stretches of that game that was, what the hell are we doing here? Like, we made it too close. It got down to, I think, 6 points. And I was a little concerned. I was, it's a little too unsettling right now. I'm not sure I'm digging all of this, but hey, Knicks got to win. We saw them last week beat the Houston Rockets too. So let's dive a little bit more into this, John. I mean, we can go in on this Pistons game before or we can go on more. Actually, let's go on more on this Pistons game, and then we can go back to see what we saw from the week. I mean,
I could talk about
I
this
like what I
Pistons
saw. Like
game
I said,
all day, bro. I could talk about this Pistons game all day. Go ahead.
I mean, I like what I saw from Mitchell Robinson today. I like that he was able to dominate in the paint. He was getting a lot of putbacks. He was really boxing out Isaiah Stewart, setting some decent screens today. He was just activated, aggressive. He had that phenomenal blocked shot at the top of the key for three, and I think it was on Corey Joseph. He was just looking good today, man. You can't, and that's why he got chose for the post game interview. You can't not talk about Mitchell Robinson and what he looked like today. And it seemed like he was more conditioned. It seems like he was more focused. Seems like he was getting back to his normal self. You know, he's continued to lose weight. I think he's down to 260 now. So he lost to 20. He's lost 20 pounds, more than the 240 than when he came to the league with. So he's getting to that middle range where he can kind of hold himself and still have that athleticism. So it was good to see. I like that from Mitchell Robinson. Or he talked about Fournier and Kemba Walker. You mentioned Julius Randle. You know, I think that's essentially the roster to talk about because we're still waiting for everybody else to come out. But what else did you see from this game?
Well, I mean, unfortunately, I was super excited about Damian Dotson, but it's just because it's like that little thing in the back of your head. You know what I mean? Your back of your heart. That's just like, oh man, what could have been with Damian Dotson, right? So he came in the game, the leading 3-point and scorer for Houston college back in the day. That was fun. But from the actual game, like you hit it on the head, dude. It's everything changes when the centers are healthy. And I'm also gonna take this game with a grain of salt. We are in desperation mode. We had, I don't know, 9 people actually get minutes today, and 2 of those were Selden and Dotson. So it's really we had a 7-man rotation today. So that's what's impressive. Like that's what I'm impressed with. You know what I mean? That we can handle it.
Can we talk about how Kemba Walker?
You took the words right out of my mouth. I was literally gonna say,
Like,
I want to ask you, what do you think about Kemba, dude? Because that's the catalyst here. He's the guy that doesn't play, and now he's playing.
Yeah, I mean,
8 for 21.
Let's go further into this. Let's now incorporate the last 2 games with Kemba because Kemba, was on that bench for 10 games. It took our young guys getting COVID and safety protocols and a Derrick Rose ankle injury to get this man back into the rotation, which I find to be
to get a minute. Forget rotation, to get a minute, to see the floor.
That's disgraceful, man. Honestly, like last week against Houston, you thought he could have at least gotten some minutes. That's disgraceful. Honestly, that's disgraceful. But I digress.
It puts Kemba in a bad position. You don't have to digress, dude, because it puts Kemba in a bad position. You see how he's been acting, and it kind of now makes sense that he's been this, Theo Pinson, lookalike from the day he got benched, because he came out today, it got reported, he hasn't even talked to Tibbs since that happened. So
yeah,
Kemba's taking it in stride, man. And how did Kemba Walker become the sympathetic character? How wild is that?
I don't know how.
And Tibbs
here's the thing.
And Tibbs became like the enemy of the Knicks fan base. Like, how did that happen within literally 2 weeks? Is it because we didn't win a home game in the entire month of December?
Yeah, here's the thing, man. Let's get into Kemba because he had 2 good outings. I think a lot of rest helps, especially for his knees, arthritis. Although it also looks like he just needs more playing time than 20 minutes than what he was getting at the beginning of the season to get in rhythm and to actually be the point guard and have the offense run through him and do point guard things. Like we asked for a point guard, and it's like, we'll let Julius Randle be the point forward. It's like, didn't we want a point guard? Isn't this the whole thing? So now we see him getting 2 games back to back over 20 points, and you see that he's shooting well. He was grabbing boards today. Got 6 assists. He got 5 assists, 8 boards today, and 21 points. But once again, I'm not getting too hyped over that. This is against the Pistons. I'm more, and I'll be a little bit more ecstatic what he did against the Celtics. But when you look at like what happened to Kemba and being benched, and hearing that he hasn't spoken to Tibbs about it, it's to answer your question, like how he became the sympathetic guy and Tibbs became the villain is because, yes, Tibbs didn't talk to him. And then when he made the change to Alec Burks, it has to work. You know what I mean? Like you can't just make that change, especially to a guy that's not a traditional point guard, then it doesn't work. And you're like, okay, let's pull this back. And we discussed this on Knicks Fan TV last night for Knicks Weekly. If you had put somebody else, if you had said Derrick Rose is now the starter or Miles McBride is now the starter at point guard, right? Or even Emmanuel Quickly, you can get behind that because it's like, okay, guys that are point guards that you want or you want to be point guards, makes sense what we're doing here. But you say Alec Burks, and then you don't even add anyone else to the rotation.
Well, to be fair, Alec Burks saved our butt at point guard last year for like that 9-game stretch.
He did, but the difference is that we actually have depth, you know. And then to make matters worse is that when you see Deuce McBride against the Houston Rockets, even for the short stint against the Golden State Warriors last week, and you see someone who's competent, who's playing, who's pressing full court, can just stick with guys, has great lateral quickness, has speed going up and down the court, and has a solid jumper. And he had 9 assists against Houston. Once again, not getting too hyped because it's Houston. They're in the same vein as Detroit. But you just see that, and you're like, why did we go in this direction? You know? Or it's like, okay, so you don't want Derrick Rose to have so many minutes, but why not even use Deuce McBride and fill up the middle of those minutes, right? Or something along those lines. There's other solutions. So when you see Kemba just withering on the bench, and to know that Tibbs didn't even speak to him, like they even talked to him about the benching, and Kemba's the most beloved person around the league. Yeah, like that's, and then it's also
he pushed that narrative too. Like Kemba pushed the "I'm the nice guy" narrative as soon as he got benched. That's the point I was trying to make in the beginning. That Theo Pinson hat, like he pushed that. Yo, I'm gonna be the nicest guy in the world. Everyone's gonna love me because this guy is honestly being a jerk. Like I love Tibbs, but you got to call it how it is. The only thing I'll say for Tibbs, though, on your point with the Burks thing is he could point to say, "Hey, I have precedent because I did it last year and it worked." Sure. That's the only thing. That's the only thing I'll give to him. That was his card that he played, in my opinion.
Sure. And that's fair. My thing then is when you think about like looking at Kemba, just to add on to it, right? Like he's league wide known as like the most liked guy. You have that, the Bronx native is home. He's going to be here to help us. All these things just put it all together into like this pot of just, why is Kemba just like out of the rotation? I don't know. I'm happy to see him back, and I'm happy to see him back in the rotation. I'm just curious on how it's going to look moving forward, and I want your takes on that. But before we get into your takes on how Kemba looks forward, we got to do, once again, John, this live ad read. So everybody, I keep saying this, right? You got to know that Minute Media owns Fansided and the Players Tribune. And if you love the Players Tribune and listening to athlete stories, then you also got to check out their podcast, and this podcast in particular, the Knuckleheads podcast, all right, from the Players Tribune. Hosts Quentin Richardson, Q Rich, former New York Knick, you know what it is, and Darius Miles, okay? That's right. 3 to the dome, baby.
Let's go.
The Knuckleheads podcast brings on some of the best NBA players, past and present, to have a totally unguarded conversations about sports, culture, and basketball nostalgia. They're in their 7th season of doing the podcast, and they brought on guests such as Kevin Durant, Jason Tatum, Sue Bird, and DeMar DeRozan. They've also brought on other high-profile entertainers, musicians, and so forth. So make sure to go over and to the Players Tribune and check out the Knuckleheads podcast, or go on to any other listening platform that you use, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, so forth. You can find their podcasts there. They do great work.
Yeah, while you're there, definitely read that Darius Miles article. Huge story about his upbringing, and our boy Demaryius Thomas. I always mention it. Such a good article about our boy DT. RIP to 88.
That's still on my to-do list to read the Darius Miles. Still on my to-do list. I have it written down.
You're gonna love it. I'm gonna know when you read it, because you're gonna be like, yo.
Yeah. I'm gonna send you a text, be like, "Yo, what?"
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. I'm gonna know when
that's
you.
just
Yeah.
how that's how it rolls around here. That's how it rolls around here. But John, got a question for you now. Now that we've seen Kemba Walker in this rotation, back in this rotation, how do we go moving forward, man? What's happening? What are your takes on this?
So it's really like a parlay because not only Kemba, but my question to kind of answer that is, will the real Evan Fournier please stand up? Because if this is, if we're gonna get rid of Fournier, like if the last month and a half was enough, then this Kemba Fournier tryout is actually the best thing that's ever happened to the Knicks. Because just 3 weeks ago, there was literally no interest for Kemba Walker around the league, right? That was the rumor. And then obviously nobody wants Fournier for a brand new contract where he stinks. He's out the rotation. So now they see
Yep.
what he can do. So now we can now blame Tibbs. We can blame, the rotation. We can blame RJ Barrett. We can start throwing blame around to anyone that's not these players when you're trying to trade them. So I think that's the move, dude. I think that Kemba Walker is going to be traded. If the coach and the player don't talk to each other, you can't have that guy around. Think about how annoyed Tibbs is when this guy's clapping and yelling everywhere. Like, he must be so annoyed. Like, you know what I mean? They're humans. Like, he's not talking to him on purpose. He's purposely ignoring him. You know what I mean? There has to be some tension there. And with the Fournier thing, really, dude, I I have no idea how you put Fournier in your lineup if you're struggling again. Like, say it's February, right? Say the deadline passes. I don't know how you could, like, with a straight face, be like, yeah, Fournier, he's our guy. After almost 3 weeks, you benched him. So clearly there's precedent to bench him. Clearly you don't like something about him that you're willing to put him out of the rotation. So if he plays good for a week or two and then you end up keeping him, that worries me with Fournier. Kemba, he's not going to get in this lineup. I know that was your original question, but I feel like they're both one and the same. I feel like Kemba's going to get traded, and I do feel like Fournier has to go as well. And this last couple weeks, these last couple games, and a couple games going forward, remember, these players aren't getting off COVID anytime soon. Like, these players still have some go in them. I think this is honestly only raising their stock. I could not believe that there was no interest for Kemba Walker. That was, I mean, just
Yeah, I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
okay, because just
I
2 months
honestly don't.
ago it
I
was a
didn't believe it.
steal for the Knicks, and now nobody wants him for it's the same contract.
I don't believe that. I didn't believe that when he got benched, and obviously it's hard to not believe that now when you watch him after 2 games get 20 plus points, get 8 rebounds tonight and 5 assists, and you see him doing similar work against the Celtics. Someone needs a point guard out there. You can argue whether or not he's a starting point guard in this league still, but if you want a point guard like a Derrick Rose coming off the bench, that's still valuable. Well, the Lakers could use somebody, Clippers could use somebody, the Sixers can use somebody. There are teams out there that can use a point guard. Okay. I think when you have like these reports of executives and so forth around the league saying, oh, he's untradeable, I think it's just them also negotiating through media as we're accustomed to, especially through the Jets and what we saw with like the Houston Texans and all, just like negotiating through the media to say, well, we don't want to give you that much for Kemba. We don't want to give you a second rounder for Kemba. People are just trying to like, they would love for the Knicks to just buy. They would love for the Knicks to just buy out Kemba and then someone swoop in to go. Yeah, it's like, oh, this is amazing. Like that's what they're hoping for. And so I think it's just negotiation through the media when it comes to stuff like that. Even with Evan Fournier, he had a rough stretch. He's starting to look good. My thing with Evan Fournier is that
is he though?
He is, and the thing is, like, we weren't
games.
using him right. Here's my thing with Evan Fournier. Evan Fournier needs the ball in his hand a lot. Like, his usage rate is the lowest it's ever been with the New York Knicks, and it has been throughout his entire career, except for that split with like Boston and Orlando last season. This is the lowest it's been as like a whole. It's 18.9%. Usually his usage has been, especially for the bulk of his career in Orlando, over about 22% or higher. And he's in the usually between the 75th percentile and higher. This is the 64th percentile we're talking about.
Okay, Alex, I have to call this out though. This was the exact problem that we had when we signed him. We said, how can we sign him? He demands the ball. We have RJ, we have Randle. And now that he has less of the ball, we're worried about it. And we're saying, oh, this is no good. He needs to have the ball. Do you want the ball in Evan Fournier's hand?
I'm not saying that I want him on the Knicks to have the ball. Because this is what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying I want him on the Knicks to have the ball out in his hands. I'm saying that he's not bad. He's actually a good player. He doesn't fit in what we're trying to do because who we want the ball in whose hands, it's not him. And we thought that he could work on less touches and be more effective. That's not the case. He needs a good amount of volume to be effective. And it works. Like it worked out tonight against the Pistons. We were in the game with the Celtics, especially I was impressed with the Celtics to a degree where the Celtics. If you're a Boston Celtics fan, and you're listening to this podcast for whatever reason, you should feel disgusted in yourself that you allowed the Knicks to take the lead in the third quarter and to only beat this team by 7 points, who had 7 guys, like legit 7 guys on their roster, and you guys had Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. We only had Julius Randle, our top dude. So when I look at that and I see, so getting back to Evan Fournier, when I look at like how he's able to perform, and it looks good, right? It looks good now for these past 2 games with him and Kemba putting the ball in your guard's hands and letting them do most of the work. It's fine. Like it is fine. The issue is that it's fine right now because we're missing one RJ Barrett. And Wally Zerbiak was praising this lineup and said, this is the lineup that we just needed time for them to gel. I really like this lineup of Kemba, Evan Fournier, Alec Burks, Julius Randle, and Mitchell Robinson.
Great on paper. And then sounds great on paper.
Hold on. Then my noodle goes off. I'm like, Wally, are you saying that you want RJ with the second unit right now and that you like this as a starting lineup? Because that's not happening. And if that does happen, I mean, unless RJ's cool with it, the fan base is just going to take one step back and just be like, what the fuck's going on here?
RJ's like, not cool actually. I'll speak for RJ. Yeah. He's not cool with it.
Yeah, no, and he wouldn't be cool with it. I know that. That's what I'm like. It's you're saying he'd have to be cool with it, but that's just and this line. Like I agree with Wally. This lineup works because Bergs doesn't need the ball in his hand. But then, John, what we're talking about is that who do you want the ball in their hand? It's like if we let's throw out Fournier and let's just say it was Kemba, RJ, Burks, whoever, like Randall and Noel.
You're gonna be shocked at my answer who I actually want the ball. You're gonna be shocked. It's McBride.
Is it Julius Randle?
No, it's McBride.
Oh, okay.
I want McBride. I literally want McBride to be the point guard. Like you were so right. I can't believe how right you were about McBride in the early beginning when you watched him, in the summer league and whatnot. I want the ball in McBride's hand. I'm not joking. Like he could start. He could be the starting point guard. I trust him more than Rose. I trust him more than Kemba. I trust him more than who else we got a point guard. I trust him more than anyone at point guard. Yeah, I really do.
Oh, look, I don't disagree. I would love to see McBride. I'm just thinking like from Tibbs. Like I'm just not even thinking about from Tibbs. I'm just giving more of like a hypothetical, right? If we're talking about this lineup and just like, who do you want the
hypothetical lineup? I think that Kemba's going to get traded and the point guards are just going to be D Rose and Trey and Deuce McBride. I literally think
I agree.
That's going to be the point guard lineup, which is, if you said that to me literally a month and a half ago, I would have been like, all right, so who's up in college basketball? Where are the Knicks going to draft? But I actually think that's the right move.
I agree. I think Deuce needs to be in that rotation. The question is, like, I would just be shocked to see Tibbs go with a rookie point guard. I would just be
he would start D Rose. He would start D Rose, but like we've known Tibbs to start phantom players. Like Elfrid Payton was a phantom starter. Like, yeah, he started every game so he could smile at night and maybe go to sleep on a warm pillow. But he played 9 minutes. You know what I'm trying to say? D Rose was our starting point guard in the playoffs, even though he never started and until the end.
D Rose has only started 7 games since he's gotten here.
And it feels like he started 100, right? It feels like he started literally 100 games. since he's been
Yeah, because
here.
he's closing every night. He's
Yeah.
closing every night, and that's why we feel that way. And that's all that really matters. If he's closing, I don't really care. It's just managing those minutes, and I think you can. Tibbs just needs to get creative to do so. But I would like to have McBride in the starting lineup. I guess just to wrap up what I was saying, just continue off of like what Wally Zerbiak was alluding to, is that and to talk about RJ Barrett is that who do you want the ball in their hands? Because Evan Fournier, right? I think he's got to get traded, man, because you want the ball in RJ's hands. You want the ball in your point guard's hand, whether it's Kemba Walker for now, if he's playing well, or Deuce McBride, who we both want, right? You want the ball in your guards and to then get it to Randle, get it to these guys at the right spots. So, and that's my thing with why Evan Fournier doesn't fit. Just to finish that is because he needs the ball in his hands a lot. We thought he could be efficient with limited touches. He's not that, but he's a good player. He just needs to get out of here. Unfortunately, it's not going to work. I can't see him fulfilling the 3 guaranteed years here being a Knick. And Kemba Walker, he's gonna get traded too.
You think Fournier's gonna make it past this deadline
this year?
Yeah.
No,
I really don't think he's.
No.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to either. Him and Kemba.
I don't think he's making.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kemba for sure. Kemba wants to play, man.
He deserves it.
He does, and the thing is, this is only helping. It's helping both these guys. Yeah. This actually is helping both these guys.
That's what I'm saying. So, it's perfect. It's literally perfect. And
yeah, you're right.
I'm glad that we got some wins out of it. But you alluded to it. I kind of want to hear your perspective from the Knicks Celtics game. You're our Knicks, guy on the floor when the Knicks are in Boston. You always will be there. So how was this Knicks Celtics game? I know you alluded to it. You said, Celtics fans should be embarrassed because we had 7 guys going. But what was the atmosphere like? What did you think of the Knicks in person? Because I go to a lot of home games, but we seem to have the same exact observation, of the team when we go. Like, last year we're both saying like independently, I can't believe Alfred Payton, how he was acting on the bench. We both saw Noel look like the Michelin Man after every timeout. Like, what was your perspective of the Knicks and like the atmosphere?
Well, it was different after like watching tonight's game, 2 totally different teams, and seeing Randle being okay, not being the guy who brings up the ball most of the time. I'd like to actually see the stat on who brought it up most of the time. It had to have been Kemba, then like Fournier, and then Randle, like from that distribution. But when you watch this team, man, like watch him here up here, the vibes was great. New York always shows out for Boston Knicks games. So, like I said on the Jets podcast, when we had the lead in the third quarter, you just saw you just saw the orange and blue just part the green sea. It was like watching Moses, right? It's like Moses in the Knicks gear, just like putting the staff in the water, and you just see the orange and blue just spreading everything. But then we lost. So
I have that visual in my head. But yeah.
The thing is that like watching this team, they just moved. Like Kemba helped pick up the pace against the Celtics, and so did Fournier. Like you saw them get downhill more. My thing that I didn't like was watching Julius Randle and his being so lax, so disengaged when he's not getting it going or getting the ball where he wanted. It's funny that we're talking about this now because it could seem that it's not fully out of date. It could be quasi out of date if the Knicks could continue to play like this, like they did against Detroit. But it's really just watching Julius, man. Like I was focusing on Julius and seeing how he's out there, how he's playing, what he wants to do. Like the arguing with the refs, man. Like he didn't do it today because I think the Knicks were winning and he was feeling it, but he's got to stop, bro. Like it is absolutely annoying. I mean, what does it do? Like absolutely, like what does it do? Shout out to my guy JD. Like on Knicks Fan TV last night for Knicks Weekly, like he talked about how refs, the refs made a mental note on.
Oh, dude, I've been telling you this for years and weeks, bro. Years, months, weeks. For NFL and NBA, it's been proven. They have pregame meetings and they're like, yo, that guy said this about this person. Last game, this guy did this.
Yeah.
This team has propensity for these kinds of fouls. Call Julius on this. He's going to complain. Like they scout. They legit scout.
No, they really do. And so like JD was talking about it, so they have that in their memory bank. If you keep complaining to the refs too, that just adds more fuel to the fire. Like, just stop, dude. Like, stop complaining. Like, you don't stop arguing for every single call. You already stacked the deck against you by calling them out, especially this season, and telling them that they call differently for you because you're stronger. So just
Yeah.
go out there, play your game, and I'm
Tips
sure
doesn't
like if
help.
you stop, Tibbs doesn't help, but I'm sure if Julius himself just stopped like chirping at the refs, man, it's just a lot, man. It's like almost every single play you're seeing him go at the ref, and it is just too much. It's too much. But he was the one that point like was focusing on. Like I was watching Mitch. Mitch had a slow first half, started to pick up in the second half, and was starting to look like the guy that we saw tonight. Nerlens Noel, he looks like he's lost out there on defense sometimes, but he makes it work. I don't know how he does it. I honestly don't know how that man does it. And then, like I said, Kemba and Fournier, like we already talked about it, but it's the same thing, man. It doesn't change on the road. I think what changes on the road is that their intensity picks up a little bit more because they want to win and they like upsetting guys on their own home court. But they need to they just need to pick up the intensity, the energy, and be that defensive unit that we saw last season. And what we saw tonight, where we had Randle allowing Kemba and Fournier to bring up the ball, that changes this game dramatically. And that's what we need. So that way he can get the ball in the post and not work like 18 feet out from the post and then try to back somebody down, him forcing or trying to split double or triple teams and then trying to kick it out, holding on the ball for way too long. Like he was passing the ball quick today. Like it touched his hand, he moved it out, gave a screen. That's the
Yeah.
stuff that he has to do because when he's not doing that, and you could clearly tell when he's not doing that because it's just gross. You're just watching him. It's not pretty. He doesn't have a pretty game when he's not doing that. He's just holding on. He could be a black hole holding onto the ball too long, doing the mellow jab steps, or the too many pump fakes, or just forcing up shots. We're seeing the same thing, man. It's no different though. It's no different. What did you see on TV though? What was it like watching on TV?
I mean, honestly, you hit it on the head. It was just really exciting to watch Kemba go. Right, that was like the first big Kemba game, and he was going back to Boston, so it was just exciting. And they showed out. And I guess this brings me to the question I wanted to ask you before we head into the upcoming schedule. That might be a little elongated because I want to get my takes in before I'm out for the extended week. Who do you miss the most?
Okay.
Who do you miss
all the
the
young guys?
most of all the COVID people? Like who?
Yeah.
Like if you were
I
able
mean,
to
it's all the
choose
young
like
guys.
one person, yeah. I mean, like if you're almost only allowed to choose one guy to come back from COVID to help this team, let's talk about this. It doesn't have to be in a vacuum. We could add the schedule. We have the Wizards, the Hawks, and Timberwolves coming up, right? The next three at least. Those are the next three games. Like who would you want there? Who do you miss the most for this Knicks team? Because I almost have to bite my tongue because we forgot one guy this whole episode. We haven't even mentioned his name.
Who? Derrick Rose?
No, IQ. How did I talk about point guards and people that want the ball in their hands and it didn't mention IQ? Like I apologize. I confess. I repent. Like I miss IQ. Like it was so different when he was out there, man.
He was, especially when you see him with McBride. And then here's the thing with IQ that we like. Is still transferring because he's still trying to figure out that point guard role too that he wants to do to be that facilitator. When he's out there with a point guard, whether it's D Rose or Deuce McBride, you see his game opens up so much more. He's able to shoot freely, just roam the court, just start setting screens, flying in and out. This is the thing where it's like I don't necessarily like if he became a point guard, I'm like he take like that shooting, his lethal threat of shooting just it's such a delicate balance because as a point guard, you don't want to just put up shots. You have to figure out like who to get the ball to, and then working to get your own shots is just another task because now it's like, all right, now you gotta give it to the power forward, run around some screens, or just go baseline, come back all the way around to hopefully get like an open shot where you have someone like Deuce McBride who can just facilitate and take all that pressure off of you. And you see that he's able to shoot. So are you going with Emmanuel quickly? That's the guy that you miss?
I have to.
Okay.
I for a second I was thinking maybe Obi, but no, the big men are fine. It's really IQ. Like I if I were to choose one person, it would be IQ.
But in the safety protocol, yeah,
Yeah.
I'd have to go with IQ as well. Like I would love to say Deuce, but it was such a small sample size to say, yeah,
Yeah,
everything's
exactly.
solved. Quentin Grimes, it's just one
Yeah.
game. Hard to say that.
RJ.
Obi Toppin, RJ was starting to come out of the slump. Like I like
I wouldn't.
RJ.
He's good though. He can wait. Like I
I
would
don't
need
know.
IQ.
I like RJ, but he had like for quickly. When you watch quickly, out of all the guys, there's a few guys that we could say on this team that are consistent night in and night out. IQ is one of them. Derrick Rose is probably the other guy. Top two guys right there. You know what you're getting out of those guys on a nightly basis. Then you can start going down the list and be like, Alec Burks, he's going to be inconsistent, but at least you know what you're going to potentially
Yeah.
get. He's either there or he's not. So
Yeah,
I know,
exactly. You know in 2 seconds.
yeah, it's like, is it this Alec Burks or that Alec Burks? So he's consistent in that way. Then I would have to go Obi Toppin, right? And then I could say everybody else. I don't for such a long time we didn't know if we are gonna get Fournier, we didn't know if we are gonna get Kemba, we didn't know we don't know which Randle we're gonna get on a nightly basis. He might be at the top of the list because we're like, he's gonna probably get his. And then out of the centers, you're like, I have no idea. If Taj was getting more consistent minutes, I put Taj under Obi.
Sure.
But that's, but
all right. Well, listen, Alex.
I would go quickly with you.
Well, listen, Alex. Unfortunately, today was my last Knicks game until Tuesday, January 4th, when the Pacers host the Knicks, man. That's the next live Knicks game.
So, I mean, that would be insane if we did a whole list.
We will right now. Let's go through it right now.
We're doing this.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games before the Pacers game. All right. Okay. Little 2-week thing, but of course we'll start. Right now because we don't even know what's going on with COVID. Adam Silver today coming out saying he's not going to cancel games. We're going to play with the replacements out here. I kind of want to get. Let's start here. Actually, I don't. Why tease it? Before we get to the schedule, I'm sorry. Before we get to the schedule, Alex, we saw the Knicks sign Damian Dotson today. We're seeing the Bulls sign Arian Ilyasova. Which replacement player would you want the Knicks to sign if all goes to hell within these next, couple of weeks? If everyone's just on COVID, like which replacement player besides you, an NBA Knicks, an old-time NBA Knicks player, would you want to see on this team?
Man, get me that walking bucket that is Michael Beasley.
Oh, let's go. Nice choice. Nice choice. Your favorite player's favorite player.
Yep, exactly. Get me Michael Beasley back out here.
Right.
If things really get desperate, who's it for you though? Who's it for you?
My number one guy will be Jamal Crawford. Be Jay Crossover. That'll be my first guy.
That's another good one. I like that one too. I like Jamal Crawford. I love to see him back in a Knicks uniform again. Those two for sure. If I want to get real wonky, just for the fun of it, just bring back Ron Baker so everyone could just love the hair again, even though he doesn't have the hair anymore.
Is he a doctor now? I was gonna say David Lee, but I think we have the same vein there.
Man.
Right,
David Lee is not. David was a good option. Yeah, but I hear you. The league itself, though, very interesting.
Some of playing is wild. And Dotson come back on the Knicks. It's just some fun thoughts.
Jared Harper getting picked up, man, by the Pelicans.
Miles Powell back. Everybody's coming.
Everyone's getting picked up, man.
Except for one guy.
We're about to watch.
One guy. Your boy Lonzo Trier can't find a squad, bro.
Oh man,
he can't find a squad, Alex. Anyway,
this guy over here. This guy.
All right, so
low blow.
So we got Wizards at Knicks. There's a couple of people on the Wizards with COVID. Did that just come out? I think like 1 or 2 players. I forgot which ones.
What is it? KCP.
Oh yes.
Yeah, KCP. Yes. KCP is the only one. So they have everybody else though.
Okay. So that one's gonna be a tough one. It's at home. Are the Knicks looking ahead to the Hawks? I mean, I know this
Yes.
Hawks game is so damn important. I do feel like we're gonna lose this Wizards game, man.
I feel like I already said this on Knicks Fan TV too. I said we're going to lose this one. We're losing this
Okay.
one. The thing is, they're fully healthy. Forget KCP. They're fully healthy. They got Montrezl Harrell. They got Spencer Dinwiddie. They got Bradley Beal. They got everybody ready to go on that squad. We're running on fumes. Um, that's a tough one, man. I feel that game just being wonky. I feel like Spencer Dinwiddie coming back to New York just wants to make a statement for himself.
Damn, I forgot.
I'm going to hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to hate it. But I feel like first game this week, I don't feel good about this one.
Okay.
How about you?
So I think we're together. I think we're together on this.
Okay.
Because I think the Knicks are really looking forward to this Christmas noon game to start it up. I'm upset that I'm missing this game, to be honest with you. Right? It just sucks.
No, they don't have Clint Capella and Trae Young as of right now.
And someone else too. I just saw. I forgot who another guy just.
There's too many people to keep track of, man.
That's what I'm saying.
I feel bad for Woj and Shams right now.
It's so fun. I'm winning picks weekly. I can't keep it together. So Greg has a legit COVID tracker for the games. Like legit, he's like, oh, let me check my COVID tracker. I was like, dude, who has COVID on the Rams? He's like going through his COVID tracker. Yeah, so I think we need one for the NBA. I think we need for the NBA because
definitely do need one for the NBA.
I think it's gonna be a win.
I do think this is gonna be a win too. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree too. I think this is gonna be a win. No, if there's no Trae Young, no Clint Capella, this one you can just put this one in the bag right here because even with the lineup that we have right now, if they're just running out a bunch of wings and if they don't have the engine that is Trae Young, it's not looking good for the Hawks. They need Trae Young in order for them to go. So I too have the Knicks first game of the day on Christmas Day, getting that solid W. All right, so let's move on to the next one because I think we're on the same page for that one. Minnesota Timberwolves. We're in the Twin City. How are you feeling about this one?
Tibbs revenge game?
Tibbs revenge game? Or is this a Karl Anthony Towns revenge game against Tibbs?
This is going to be because
he just tackled the shit out of LeBron James the other night.
It's going to be a good game, man. It's going to be actually a really good game. I think we match up well against the Timberwolves. D'Lo's been playing pretty well, low key.
Yep.
And he's been playing really good on defense too, which is crazy. Cat has been on fire.
Yeah, Cat has been good.
I wonder if we're gonna be underdogs in this game. I feel like we're gonna be like 2-3 point underdogs in this game.
If we don't have, I mean, we should have some of our guys back by this point.
That's true. All right, give me a win here. Give me. I need a winning streak, bro. I need a winning streak somewhere. I think I have to find it here. I think I have to.
This has to be it here. This is the softest part of the schedule because if we're getting against the Hawks and they're weak, you get the Timberwolves. Although last year it was gross. It was gross. It was gross last year with the Timberwolves.
Yeah,
I think we have a better. You're taking the L?
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
You're right. We're trying to find the silver lining. Maybe players are coming back, even if it's their first game back, Alex. That's even scarier. First game back after COVID, like it's more about names on the paper. So yeah, I see this being an L, unfortunately. But then I'm taking 3 wins in a row. I don't care. I might even take 4 wins in a row. Like I don't care. I have to.
The next 2 games, and I'm fine with losing to the Timberwolves because the next 2 games where you get the Pistons, where we already beat them, we can beat them in Motor City. They're just a bad team. Then you get the Oklahoma City Thunder, another just bad team, like bad,
very bad,
like
very bad,
like very, 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 very bad. Like I don't know if they should be. If there was relegation, they would be the first team to go down, next to the Pistons. And then after that, we get back to the Raptors. This one I'm not really confident about.
You never are. Good. But they've been sick too. I mean, their entire team.
But at this point,
right now,
yeah, but they should be back by this point because they were around the same time.
Exactly 10 days away, though. This is exactly 10 days away. No, they just got all on COVID, right?
You might be right. It's so hard. Like once again, it's very hard to keep it with everyone who's got.
This is a win, Alex. Please,
we need Toronto.
Yes, a 3-game winning streak on the road after taking the first L. 3-1 on the road, and then we come home. And do we see a new Pacers team by January 4th, or is it the same old Pacers? Because if it's the same old Pacers,
Same old
that's a
Pacers.
W. That's a W.
Same old Pacers.
Give me a 4-game win streak, Alex. I'm feeling good coming off vacation. I'm feeling good. Come back from Africa.
Right.
I'm gonna be quarantined back in my room when I come back before I get my COVID results. I'm be ready. I'm be ready for this next Pacers game.
All right. Yeah. I'm gonna take the 1, 2. You're gonna take 3. Ugh, it's so hard, man. Loss, win. The Raptors scare me, man. If it's full, if it's the 10-day and they're still not there, I take the win. Actually, I still take the win because if our guys are back before theirs and their guys are coming back from COVID, that means they're not fully in shape yet. So this should be a win. I agree with that.
A little math.
I agree with. I agree with that. I agree with that insanity. And the Pacers.
You've been listening to Winning Picks Weekly, I see. Listen to Greg.
Yes. You're a crazy person, as Greg would say. And then for the Pacers, this is a tough one, man, because we play them. It's gonna be home. Screw it. I'm going on a 4-game winning streak with you.
Let's go. We're going into the new year on the same page. Christmas, New Year's on the same page. And we literally have every game together.
Let's do it.
Here. I love it. Let's go.
Let's do it.
I think this is the first time ever.
I like that lineup.
We never did that.
Yeah, no, we've never been full on the same page. Very rare times that we are.
As Greg would say,
page.
that's either fantastic news or absolutely horrible news. So we'll see.
Yes, I agree with that 100%. So that means we got within this stretch, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games. We got 5 out of the next 7 games that we win. If that's the case,
lost to the Timberwolves
this season,
and to
lost to the Wizards.
The Wizards. Okay.
Yep. If that's the case, this changes everything for this team immensely.
I agree.
It puts this team in a different place. Although the question, I'll ask you this before we wrap up and we get out of here. All right, what changes are happening, man? I have to know. I have to know what changes are happening. What's coming, man? Because when everyone comes back,
damn, this is tough.
What's happening? Like, what's happening? Like,
right?
Does Kemba just go back to the bench? Do you keep him in the rotation to keep bumping his trade value? Evan Fournier is not getting benched because he's getting paid.
Dude, I think Kemba Walker is going to be sent to like the Rockets for like Eric Gordon.
Stop. He's not doing that. If they traded anyone to the Rockets, it'd be Evan Fournier to the Rockets because the contracts match exactly to get Eric Gordon. Gordon would be on a 1-year less, and we'd have to probably send. Actually, I don't even know if you need to send an asset. You could say, hey, we give you another playmaker to go run with Jalen Green. Eric Gordon will take the catch and shoot player.
Yeah, I mean, you have a good point. I think Kemba slides right back into the bench. But at the same time, I think that these players, if they're actually sick, are going to take time to get back into full health. However, I think like 2 or 3 of them were like yelling on Instagram, like free me, like IQ was like free me, OB was like free me. So they might not actually be like sick.
Well, Deuce says he doesn't have any symptoms, and neither does Quentin Grimes. So we'll see. But you have to come back. They might jump back in again.
That's what I'm saying. They might jump right back. If you're not feeling symptoms, like you might jump back in. The problem was like, for example, remember last year when like Tatum and DeRozan came back and they were feeling symptoms, they had a bad hit with COVID and then they're using their asthma pump. Like that's an issue. You can't just
that's also pre-vaccine too, like the guys, like our team is, these guys are now fully vaccinated. So
it feels mild this time around. We're not doctors or anything, but it does feel mild this time around.
Don't listen to us for COVID advice.
I mean, I just got boosted, so whatever the hell that means. And I'm going to Africa. So I'm the dummy. I'm the dummy here. Don't listen to me when it comes to medical advice, but you should listen to me when it comes to Knicks advice, because I think Kemba's going to go right to this bench. I think McBride is going to get playing time. I think D Rose is going to get playing time in the point guard. And I think we finally see IQ in shooting guard. I think Tibbs knows, to be honest with you. I think Tibbs knows. I think Tibbs knows that IQ is not a point guard. And we experimented, we tried it, we let him try. We're like, yo, if you really want to do it, show us. Go to the G League, even though you don't deserve to be in the G League, and show us. So he did. It wasn't that great. And he's like, yo, I just tried it. He came back this year. He's like, yo, go ahead, be a point guard. It didn't work out. It's still not working out. But when he comes in a shooting guard, when he just pops threes, man, and he hits those 5 threes in the second half, or 3 and 2, he splits them up. The game is so different, dude. His 12 points are like Steph Curry points, and it's a game changer, man. So I need to see IQ in the shooting guard spot, and I want Fournier out. That's what I want. I want Fournier and Kemba out. It's really been the theme of this episode. I love Kemba to death. He can hang out, but obviously Tibbs doesn't. So get Kemba out of here, give him an opportunity, and I'm done with Fournier. I'm just done with the experiment. Like, he's good, he's fine. We know what he is, but he's not the answer, man. Just the faster you cut ties with Fournier and you accept your mistakes and you deal with it, the better off the Knicks will be. But if we keep lingering this on and we hold on to it, it's okay. We'll try. His pace is this. He has no point guard. By the time he, quote unquote, figures it out, his contract's going to be up, or he's going to be 100 years old, or he's going to get injured. Like, I'm okay to cut ties with the Fournier experience and the Kemba experience, to be honest with you. And it's sad because those are our 2 free agent signings.
Yeah, they're 2 big free agent signings. You hope that they would pan out well. The one that hurts me the most is more so Kemba, just because like the storyline is just right there. The actual storyline for the entire New York Knicks is right there. I feel like it's just a collection of just miscasted players from different teams, whether it's Fournier from Orlando, Kemba from the Charlotte Hornets, and looking for his way to get like some good playoff experience. Julius Randle from the Lakers to the Pelicans, and then having a turnaround season. RJ Barrett for being, always doubted. IQ for being 25th. Everyone wanted to trade Obi last season.
Yes.
Yeah, our 2 rookies this year, the 3 rookies this year, even though we got 4 with Sims, Grimes, McBride, who are just like out there, just, they're getting limited minutes here and there, but they want to contribute. And they have Noel, who everyone's just like, we could joke about him. Like, he's got stone hands, but comes from the Mavericks, didn't get the contract that he's wanted in litigation, just has had just so many injuries. Mitchell Robinson, freak act. This entire team has that storyline. It just stinks, man. It just stinks, especially for Kemba, because I wish it all worked out really well.
Yeah, me too.
But I think that's a good place to end it, John. We're burning the midnight oil. So, anything else you want to say?
Nah, man. This is my last Knicks episode. Again, I feel this episode until January.
Till the new year.
To the new year, I'm hoping that I can get on the back end of that Pacers Knicks game. We'll see how the timing works out for that one. Happy New Year. We still got Jets episode. Definitely listen to that one. We got the gambling episode that'll also be on for this week. But I'm excited to get it from the other perspective, man. From the fan perspective. I'm excited to listen to the Jets recap. I'm excited to hear about the Knicks next week to find out if we were right or not. Now we're aligned, so I mean, you're gonna talk about if you were right or not. So I'm glad to see that. We'll get to see the winning picks weekly, from a different angle. I have like my own bye week coming up, so it should be fun, man. I'm really excited to get the fans' perspective.
For sure, man. For sure. Well, you'll be missed for your time in Kenya. Have fun. Stay safe. When you come back, we'll be talking more Knicks. Will you come back for a Jets episode, or will we be done with the Jets season? I think we may be coming for the last
there's
week.
There's still another week of Jets. They won't let me
you'll be back for one more.
Easily.
We'll get that. You'll be back for one more.
Guess what game that is, Alex? It's a week 18 at Buffalo.
Buffalo, yep. I was like, it's got to be some rival. I was like, we played. Yep.
But it's at Buffalo, week 18. Like, this is like my night.
I know.
It's like the last 3 weeks are at Jacksonville. I mean, at home versus Jacksonville, which is Trevor Lawrence versus Zach Wilson. home versus Tom Brady, and then at Buffalo. Like, just a brutal last 3 weeks for my emotions, man.
Well, it's all good though. Two of them you'll be far away, so you won't have to kill yourself. But
that score is gonna hurt.
Last one. You're gonna be back for the last one. We may get some smoke signals, telegrams, letters in a bottle from John just screaming. We'll see what happens. But everyone, thank you again for tuning in for another Knicks episode of the Knicks Jets Etc. podcast. You know what to do. Please make sure to give us a 5-star review and to leave a comment if you listen to us on Apple Podcasts. By the way, if you listen to this podcast on Spotify, guess what? They also have ratings now. They'll be rolling out a new part where you can now rate podcasts, just like you do on Apple Podcasts. So please, if you're on Spotify, make sure to give us that 5-star review as well. Help us out. It helps us out oh so greatly. And if you don't listen to us on Spotify or Apple, guess what? We're on Google Play, Amazon, Alexa, Stitcher, you name it. We are there. On top of that, we're also on YouTube. All right, go to the YouTube channel, Knicks Jets,
thumbs up for your boys.
Make sure to hit the subscribe button. Make sure to hit the like button when you watch any of the videos, and please make sure to hit that notification bell to know when you get a new episode. And while you're there, we got another podcast called Winning Picks Weekly. That's John, video producer Greg. They go up and down the NFL slate, give you their takes on all the games for that upcoming week, and they've been doing a really good job. So make sure to go check it out. They got unlimited good takes when it comes to the betting. Some may not have ratings. That's not unlimited. That is limited. That is very, 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 very limited to one video producer, Greg. But I digress. And last but certainly not least, please make sure to follow us on all social media platforms. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. We're on all those platforms. That's right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in for another Knicks episode of the Knicks Jets Etc. podcast. We'll catch you later this week for another Jets episode. We out.
Let's go Knicks.